has said that the session has been insightful, and she wants to understand at what point do you know if your application document is good enough, right? So that you don't get stuck in that rabbit hole of no, it's not yet good enough.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
I think, again, one of the things that can work against us, I completely understand. A lot of the things that work against us are things that I had to fight against myself. But it's good to show others, especially trusted others. That's one of the places a mentor is useful, or that scholarship guide, as you had said, where somebody else can read your work, because when you've worked on something, you've worked on it at length, you've edited, you've deleted, you've started from scratch, you've been working on it for 3, 4, 5 weeks. Every word is so precious to you, and so it can be hard for you to see that actually you said this already 3 times, so you need to cross out 2 of those times. You're wasting this space. You could use it to say something else about yourself, or you wrote this really, really beautiful paragraph, but actually it's irrelevant. It doesn't add anything. So it's good to have somebody who you trust, who, a friend who can mind your grammar, can mind your that you're sticking to the point, that you're answering the questions that were asked. If they ask you to demonstrate how you've shown leadership, and you answer instead about networking, you can do a perfect answer, but if it hasn't answered the question, that can work against you. So to answer the question of how do you know when the application document is good enough, in truth, you know it's good enough when you've been accepted, right? You can think that it's perfect, but you don't get accepted, or you can think that it's rubbish, but you do get accepted. So in terms of when to stop tinkering with it, I think that's a challenge that writers have, is that you can always, if you have more time, you can always look at it and say, oh, I can change this, I can change that. I think that a key thing is to start in good time, so that you do have time to make it as strong as possible. As I said, it's good to at least let somebody review it, ask somebody to review it. Sometimes it's really good, the things, communities like the one that Eduro has built, where you know that you're several of you going towards the same goal. I know that it can be hard because your colleagues are also your competition, and there's always that thought in the back of your mind that we're helping each other, but maybe some of my help will actually let my friend get chosen instead of me, or something to that effect. I think that can be a very heavy piece of information on your mind. But if you'll indulge me just 2 minutes to tell this story, um, there's this a lady, a fellow doctor, a colleague of mine, who is just amazing, phenomenal. She's one of the most amazing women I've ever met. She's in Zambia. She started in medical school as a young woman. She started her own NGO, which is now a bona fide NGO that's supported and collaborates with other international NGOs. And we were applying for scholarships in the same year. And we were talking, we kind of were aware that we were applying, but in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, so these people are going to find their one reproductive health doctor, and of course she's perfect, she's so good, look at all these things that she's done. Why am I even bothering? But like at the same time, I'm so glad that I didn't allow that to make me hold back information, I think one of the things, at least, that I'm an older woman now, I'm in my 40s, so I think maybe I have a little bit of that ability to kind of think or feel that if it's not meant for me, then I won't have it, and if it's meant for me, I'll have it. So I didn't mind sharing what I had, and also I think maybe that also just I don't know, the good luck of a family that is generous and willing to share. So I wasn't afraid to be open, and they took both of us. The short version of the story is that they took both of us. And it turned out, when we were both in the UK, we both ended up going to the same school, actually, in different programs. But we had a conversation about it, and it turns out that she was having those exact same thoughts, that, oh God, they're going to see this one. She's a reproductive. They just need one, so they'll tick that box. And the thing is, really, for especially these UK programs, one of the things that I've heard is that if you check the boxes and they have the money, they're going to take you. If it means taking five of you, if as long as you're fulfilling a purpose that they're looking to fulfill, and the money is there, and at the same time, you could be, sometimes you'll find that you're left off the list, so to speak, and you can't understand because you did all the things and you got good letters, and sometimes it truly is, as Shuhaib was saying, just circumstances outside of your control, and it might not be your time. I definitely, when that happens, encourage people to try again, to where possible kind of reflect on how you might make it stronger, where possible go back and get a bit more experience so that you're not just submitting the exact same essay from last year. You have a few things to add. But yeah, it took me 3 years of applying and trying before I finally went on a master's on scholarship. And so a dream deferred is not a dream denied, I think is my summary statement for that. I'll hand it back to you guys.
That's very apt. That's very apt, Chileche. Thank you so much. I'll just add just few to that. That last quote, that you said, a dream deferred is not a dream denied. It's very hard because it took me 9 years before I got my first scholarship. Out of those 9 years, I applied for 6 years or 7 years. So I think it was just 2 or 3 years in between that I did not apply. Okay. And like you said, it might just be that it's not your time yet. So you can't say you will not continue applying. It's going to happen when it is your time. So there is an element of, so for the people that believe in God, there's an element of, God factor. Okay. For people that don't believe in God, there's an element of luck, you know, as they would like to say. So you have to understand that piece of thing. Then in terms of the question itself, let me just add to that. What Chileche has said, give it to someone to read, because your application pack, okay, like Chileche said, until you get into the program, that's when it's good enough, right? But in terms of putting your leg forward, give it to someone to read. I will tell you that I said it took me 9 years. It was almost similar application pack that I used for the 9 years. Okay. And then I ended up getting it. And I had applied for Commonwealth before. I did not get it. But with the same application pack, I think it was just about 3% or 5% maximum tweak to that. And then I crossed the line. So you can see that there are various factors working together, in terms of getting this thing. So you just have to be convinced about what you can do, be convinced about what you've written, give it to someone to go through. The person can help you, sort of weed out those irrelevant lines, or those tautology that you must have inevitably passed across. So I think I'll leave it there, because Gloria has asked another question. She said, I'm preparing for a PhD studentship application without clear assessment criteria. CV, statement of purpose and research proposal, and letter of recommendation. From your experience, which document is more important in this case? Okay, so Chileche, no, before I come to you, Chileche, sorry. Gloria, if I get your question correctly, are you saying that there's no clear assessment criteria, but they have asked for all of these documents? I guess that's what you're trying to say. They've asked for CV, SOP, research proposal, and letter of recommendation. In terms of the important document, I'll just quickly give my thought, then I'll hand over to Chileche to give her thought. I think that all of those documents, or whatever, they are very important. Okay, so yeah, she confirmed that that's what she meant. They are quite important. What you need to do is put your best in everything. The one that is within your control is your CV, your SOP, and your research proposal. Letter of recommendation is not within your control, right? But for your statement of purpose, for your CV, for your research proposal, you want to put in your best. Okay, and I know that especially for UK universities that I'm very familiar with, when they say research proposal, there is always a guideline. on how you need to put together that research proposal. They could have said maybe it's a 2-page proposal or a 1,000 words proposal. They could have, or they would have given you, the sort of questions that you need to answer even in that proposal. Okay. And also for some universities, they already have a template. Rather than just telling you these are the things, they have a template already that you can just follow. So you need to follow those templates and not go uh, overboard, okay, in terms of you applying your wisdom, okay. And then for your CV, another thing I would like to state in CV is that there are different kinds of CV. So if you're applying for a PhD program, you cannot use the CV that you utilize for applying for a job, okay, a professional job. For that, you need to develop like an academic CV, okay. And if you go to jobs.ac.uk, you will find, the sample or a template of how you can prepare, an academic CV, especially for the UK. All right. So I think those are the things I would like to, for SOP. I think that's general. You just need to, put together, talk about yourself, like Chileche has said earlier. Talk about yourself. Talk about why you are the best person, to be picked for the PhD. Talk about what you have done in the past that is related. Then you want to show that okay, you've done some little research about the university and probably the potential supervisor that you probably be working with, and you just want to, mention that. And then one thing that is also important, okay, is that you need to tell us why we need to, not why we need to give you. You need to tell us what you would do, okay, with that PhD afterwards. Okay. One of the things I find is that people don't write what is next for them after the PhD, and I think that this is important because from my interaction, okay, with professors and some of these top guys, they tend to want to understand what you will use the PhD to do afterwards. Is it that you want to go back to the industry, or you want to go back to academia? And there's another, again, Chileche and Ejiro can speak to this. But what I've come to understand is that even though when you finish, you could go to the industry, but I think there is a bias for wanting people to stay within academia, even though there might not be a lot of opening at the end of the day when you finish your PhD. But if you've made it clear that, oh, I'm going to be going to the industry, there might be some, I mean, again, there are so many factors that comes into play when they are picking, but it might work against you a little bit, rather than you saying that, see, when I finish, probably continue with postdoc, or you want to become a professor at the end of the day or something. You understand? So all of this has to be thought through, okay, before submitting your application. So Chileche, let me hand over the mic to you.
Thank you. I think that in terms of directly answering Gloria's question, Shahab, you covered all of the points. I want to add one additional point, which is not quite. So Gloria asked, what's the most important document? And I agree with you that all of those documents are important, and that you should think of them each as doing different work. So CV can bring out certain aspects. Try to make sure that your statement of purpose brings out especially some aspects that may be hidden in the CV. So you might say that you worked at this job for 2 years, but it doesn't give you an opportunity to show, as Shuhaib was saying earlier, how you were maybe, like, again, these things may not seem like they are relevant, but they really do matter. Like if you were the person at work who used to be the one who would fundraise, who would collect the funds when there's a funeral, that shows your leadership, that shows your participation. And obviously that's not something you're going to put on your CV, but that can come out on your statement of purpose as ways that you were a team player. And so in that way, your statement of purpose is doing different work from your CV. Again, when you have your letter of reference or letter of recommendation, that's an opportunity for one of the things that people have different views on this, but you can often submit a draft, or submit some points to the person who's writing the CV for you, and you can take that as the letter of reference, sorry, and you can take that as an opportunity to say, please make sure that you mention this and this and this, and that can be extremely helpful for professors who are busy, for professors who maybe you took their class 5 6 years ago, you were the best student in that year, but they've had so many semesters of, again, students and all these other things going on in their lives. So it can be very, very helpful just to kind of place you, especially if you haven't had an ongoing professional relationship continuously since that time. But so in addition to those things, I think one of the most important things in my personal view is try and establish relationships with this potential supervisors. I personally think that that is so important. People feel shy to send an email to a potential supervisor, but that's somebody that you're going to be, so to speak, in a relationship with for at least the next 3 years of your life. Maybe even continuing as a collaborator if you're going to stay in that part of the field. So you really want to try and avoid. I know that it can be very, very challenging, because especially when you're coming as an African student, there's so few opportunities. You want to just jump on whatever you can, but there are few things worse, I think, in a PhD than finding yourself in a toxic relationship. And so being able to find a supervisor who's a good fit is a really, really important aspect of that work. That's the person who's going to fight for you in rooms even when you're not there. That's the person who has to show to the institution that there is money for you to finish. So as Shuhaib said, you might get a scholarship, but the school will want to know not only how the school fees are being paid, but how's that person going to eat? How's that person going to pay their rent? So then, not that actually sometimes you'll be a perfect candidate, but there's no money for you. There's no money to give you a stipend, and there's no demonstration that you will cover your own fees, and that's why you're rejected, not on your academic merit. Um, and so, like for example, the person who is my supervisor currently fought for me for 2 years, looking for different funding streams. We apply for this doesn't work out. We apply for that one's not available. We apply for this one. Oh, actually, you don't qualify for that one. You didn't get a credit at master's level. Until finally, so right now I'm attending King's on a what's called a funding waiver. So essentially, it's if the faculty, and it's not given to me, it's given to my supervisor, and so your supervisor has to go to the school and say, I have this, I hate saying this about myself, but she had to go and say, I have this brilliant student, and if we don't find a way to bring her with fund, if we don't cover her funding, then she won't come. And that can either mean, oh, she'll go somewhere else. She'll go, if she won't come to King's, she'll go to Oxford. She'll go to, I wasn't going to Oxford or Cambridge, but she'll go somewhere else. We'll lose her to another institution, or we will lose out on a really valuable candidate. And you can say that to the school, but the school doesn't know you, but the school owes something to its faculty. And so if you identify somebody who is willing to have those conversations on your behalf, that's a really valuable asset to have in your application journey. And so especially at PhD level, I do encourage people to send a short email. Hi, I'm interested in working with you. This is my experience, not paragraphs and paragraphs, but just like a very, very short, this is why I think you and I would work well together. This is what I'm interested in doing. And I'm keen to source funding, because that's often the biggest barrier, right? Is that some as Shuhaib was saying, somebody can be really excited about you as a candidate, but if they can't pay for you for 4 years, they can't demonstrate, sometimes it's 300,000-400,000 pounds, then it means they can't take you on. And so you also have to show that willingness to work for funding. So to apply for, whether it's a Wellcome Trust grant, whether it's a Commonwealth scholarship, whether it's some other funding, that you're going to put the legwork in, so that if that person invests in you, commits to you, then you're going to do the work to make sure that you're funded. Sometimes, as Shuhaib said, the PhD is like a job. They need somebody to do a certain amount of work, and they have the funding available to hire somebody for that, and then you're getting your PhD as part of that process. But it's good to, a lot of these things are built on relationships, and so it's good to try and establish those relationships, and don't be shy about sending emails, and don't take it personally if you don't hear back, and don't take it personally if you hear back a rude response. That's also a gift, because the worst thing you could do is get in somewhere where somebody is going to be responding to you rudely when they're actually supposed to be nurturing you and building your confidence and your academic experience and knowledge. So take everything that happens as a gift. It can be a long journey and difficult, but I do think that it's really important to try and introduce yourself and establish relationships with your potential supervisors. So that's my additional contribution to Gloria's question.
That's really awesome because we seem to have the same story. My PhD, my PhD was afterwards I got to understand that my my now supervisor, it was two things that two PhD that was advertised. So I applied for just one. Okay. Then my other colleague is finished now because he started before me. And then he applied for the same one. And then my supervisor, who was our supervisor, had to tell him that can he apply for the other one because he seems to have seen, a candidate, really strong candidate that he feels can do that other one better. And then that's how we both end up. It was later on, we were having conversation, myself and him,
Wow.
not the supervisor that told me, myself and the guy that he then told me that. So, establishing that relationship, they need to understand that you can really do, this thing. And it happens in different ways, right? But all the best, man. So we have two questions which we will take, and then we'll wrap up the session. And so one of the question is from Muleba, is from Zambia, and this is to you, Chileche. He wants to understand when you think Commonwealth can respond back, because his potential supervisor is saying that you would need to apply for CAS soon. So, do you have like a timeline that you think Commonwealth can respond
Oh
to?
man. So I got a Commonwealth at master's level, and they
Wow.
responded. I didn't hear anything at all, at least with the Chevening. So the year that I applied, I actually got both a Commonwealth and a Chevening scholarship offer, and ended up going with the Commonwealth for personal reasons. I was hoping to get a PhD right away without leaving the UK, which did not work out. But anyway, um, but the Chevening is nice and not nice, in the sense that every so often you'll get, we used to call them love letters. So whether the news is good or bad, you get these love letters from Chevening. They either regret to inform you about something, or they're pleased to inform you about something. And so, which is all to say that over the course from the time that you submit in November until about February, when they start sending out interview invitations, you're hearing back from them. You're hearing back from them. um, Commonwealth applied about the same time, went back for interview, and they didn't say anything until April. They didn't say anything for the longest time. In terms of your supervisor, I think just try and keep them at bay. You will have time to get the CAS. I think it for certain categories, and I think this academic one on scholarship is one of them. It doesn't take so long. It may take about 3-4 weeks. So even if you hear in like as late as say May, June, you should still, if you're aiming for a September start, you should have enough time. But I think that they usually get back to you around April or so. So yeah, you still got a couple of months of waiting, I'm afraid.
Ejiro, do you want to weigh in on that? Because I know that you got scholarship for Commonwealth for PhD.
Yeah. So I think during my time, I think it's asking for Commonwealth General, right? Not the shared, because I don't know much
No,
about
this
it.
is for PhD. It's PhD.
Yeah,
PhD
yeah. So I
scholarship.
think we got mine around that April also. While some people got their own May. So it's the PhD is not, it's kind of between that April May. So that is what I know. During my time, I don't know what happened last year, but I guess it's around the same time also.
Yeah. So what I'll just add to that, Muleba, is that don't panic, don't be overwhelmed. All you need to just understand, or what you need to tell your supervisor, is that I'm sure your supervisor will already know that you're applying for a PhD scholarship, right? And from Commonwealth, and you just need to let him know that Commonwealth is yet to respond, but that from experience of people that you've spoken to, they will respond around April, May. And in terms of CAS does not take more than 2 days, 3 days. Once you get that, you can get your CAS. That's one. Number two is that no, I think that sorts it. Don't let me say the other one. So that I think that sorts it. Then the next question is from Gloria, and I think this is what we will use to sort of wrap up the conversation. Gloria, she has asked two questions actually,
Yeah.
but if we can't get to both, we would answer one. In here, she's saying that in stating research interest, she's struggling with blending, research interest with the research area she's applying for. The research area is an interesting area, but different from my MSc work. Okay, the follow up explanation is, how do I blend both? Should I talk more about my interest in the research topic, or my relevant skills or experience to showcase my genuine passion for the new area? Chileshe, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's a little bit of a tricky one. But you have the experience you have,
Mhm,
and you have the interests you have.
mhm.
I think it's difficult to know without knowing the two things are. Um, as, without knowing what's the research area that you worked in, what are your research interests that you're trying to go into, to know how different they are. If you did a health masters and now you want to go into linguistics, that'll have a very different kind of approach. I think it's not impossible, but it would have a very different approach to if you were doing a master's in tropical medicine and now you want to go into health informatics. So I think the two short things I would say are try and find the common threads, and then the second is I think it's a good idea again to see if you can talk to, if not a potential supervisor, maybe another person that I do think the best person to talk to is a potential supervisor, but another person to consider is who is your master's tutor or who is your master's supervisor, because that's somebody that you already have an established relationship with, and they will have insights on, okay, these are the connections between where you're coming from and where you're going. In a PhD, they are strong believers in what are called transferable skills, which is you might not be doing the same thing that you were doing before, but something about what you were doing before is very relevant to what you'll be doing in the future. So I would say focus on that. Focus on how you can apply what you were doing before to what you want to learn, and how you'll be filling the gaps between where you are and where you want to be using the PhD. But I think that that's where mentorship and guidance from either a master supervisor, a potential PhD supervisor, or some other authority in the direction that you're going would be very valuable. Go ahead, Shahid.
Thank you so much, Chileshe. And I think you've said it all. What I'll just add to that is that so my background, okay, even though I had did the civil engineering in my undergrad, uh, in my masters I did environmental engineering and project management. My PhD I'm doing civil and environmental engineering. However, most of my experience, and indeed my master's dissertation was on bioremediation. Okay. However, I'm doing a PhD now in construction carbon reduction, right? How was I able to convince my now supervisor that I could do the PhD? Okay, it is a case of, in my proposal, first of all, the proposal has to be focused on the research that you want to do, the PhD research you want to do. There's no two ways around that. Okay, so I demonstrated in that proposal that I understand the topic that I'm going to be working on. Okay, by virtue of some literature review, what do you call it? Methodology, proposed methodology, and all of that. Now, in my statement of purpose, just like Chileche said, there are some things you would have done that can be on your CV, which you put in your statement of purpose. So in my statement of purpose, what I did was I wrote about those things I've done in the past, which was majorly on waste management. My career, I had not even worked in a construction site other than for 6 months. Okay. And that was before I even graduated from my undergrad. But I've worked in the waste management sector all my life, right? But what I did was I extracted the qualities that is required for a PhD program while working in another sector or another field. That's what is important. I extracted those and I then marry it with some of the things I did in my master's program, which is environmental engineering, right? Because I was doing something like advanced wastewater treatment, doing something around microbiology, and all of that. What I did was I then spoke about a candid example. I spoke about the fact that there was a model for I did a course on water sanitation, something like that, right? That worked on the model. I said we worked on this model, okay, and then during working on that model, what the model taught me, okay, and the skills I gained from working on that model. Those are some of the things I wrote in my SOP. Okay, and you see that there are two different things, but can you so what PhD is about is transfer of skills and experience. Can you transfer those skills that you have to complete your PhD? That's what is important. Okay, it's not about, oh, this is the research area I've worked on, this is another research area that they don't tally, or how can I blend it? No. If you can blend it, fine. If you can't blend it, just draw inferences and then you'll be good to go. I think that answers your question. We hope. If not, if you need more insight, then I think maybe Ejiro can quickly talk about there are some groups that is available, right? Ejiro, am I correct? There are some groups that are available that people can join. So maybe you want to talk about that, and then we can use that to wrap up the conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thanks to Shoaib for stepping. Oh, she said you want to say something?
No.
Oh, great. So thank you for Shoaib for stepping up the last minute because my network just did something great. So thank you. I really appreciate for being spontaneous. Thank you. And
You're
thank
welcome.
you to Shispetu for your very enlightening discussion.
Oh, Ejire has zanged again. But she has to do this because I don't know those groups.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We're just, if you'll bear with us, I know we've gone over 1 hour, but we're hoping that Ejiro will be able to rejoin so that she can share the links for the various scholarship groups. If we can't get her back, Ejiro, are you back? Ejiro? Ejiro, I can see you. Ejiro seems to be moving, but if we
I
can't
think
get
you
her,
just go on without me.
no,
Can you hear me?
we need you for this part. So Ejiro, please just put the links in the show notes for how people can join the groups. There's some different WhatsApp groups, and I think maybe some other forums have groups. And I think one of the things for me certainly that helped a lot was having community, people who are also trying for the same dream that you're trying for. As I said, it can feel very difficult when you're also in competition, but actually, really, you go so much further and you learn so much. So Ejiro, if you can just share the links and the different forums where people can join to get more.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much. Just because we want to avoid spam, so what we do is that they can reach out to us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or just reach out to any of the speakers. Then we can share the link. Because if we share the link here, they're going to spam the chat, so we don't share directly on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I will stop talking now. So I don't trust my network. So just end it. Let me just keep quiet.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Ejiro. Thank you, Chileche, and thank you to our audience for sticking around till this time. We apologize for, in starting we took about 10 minutes because of the network issue. We apologize for that, and we hope that subsequent sessions are going to go really smooth. It's out of our control. It's a network issue which we can't do anything about. So thank you. Until next time, for the March sessions, there are going to be 3 sessions that is already planned for March. One is on preparing for graduate school in the US. So for people that are interested in going to the US, you want to stick around for that in March and you don't want to miss it. For those that are applying for Commonwealth Scholarship, we understand that, yes, Commonwealth Scholarship might have closed now. However, it is important that, people that have the intention to apply for it later in the year begin to attend such webinars so that they can have an understanding of what it is about, how to go about it, and then you are much more prepared before the application comes out. And also the last session that we already planned for March, it might extend, but the last session for now is PhD for you. This is really important because there are some people that really think that they want to, go in for a PhD. Okay. However, PhD might not be for them. So there are different reasons people go for PhD, but you need to have an understanding if a PhD is for you because there are stress. Anything you do in life, there is stress, right? But the stress in PhD can be on another level. I know. I see that Chileche is already Chileche is already smiling at. So it can be a lonely journey. Okay, it's different from when you are working in an organization and you are stressed and all of that. This is you and you alone. You are the sole runner, even though you have your supervisors to guide you, but you have to make a lot of decisions yourself. Okay, so you need to understand if indeed a PhD is for you. It could be that doing an MSc is just the best for you that you have done. Some people, it could be that MBA is the next thing for them to do and they are good. Some people, it could be that it's just masters by research that they need to do. So you need to want to attend that session, especially if you want to do a PhD. So that'll be all for today. Thank you so much, Chileche. Thank you, Ejiro, and thank you, our audience. Till March.
Thanks, everyone. All the best.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.